Taiwan is on hold and reporters are being called traitors. Trump just landed back in Washington from Beijing, and on the plane he turned to New York Times reporters and said, "I actually think it's treason what you write." He has said this multiple times. He named the New York Times, he named CNN, he called the reporters a fake, said he should be ashamed of himself. And the crime the reporter committed? Asking whether Trump achieved his goal targets in Iran. But before we talk about that, let's talk about what happened in the summit, at the summit room. Because right now, Taiwan, as I predicted or we mentioned in our last episode, just became a variable, not a commitment, a variable. The Beijing summit ran from May 13th through the 15th, 3 days, ceremonial dinners, garden walks, trade announcements, including the Boeing deal, which Trump described as over 200 planes with a promise of 750 more. China's president called the U.S. state, and I quote, "hottest country anywhere in the world. The warmth was real, the substance complicated." Trump said on Friday that he did not make a decision whether to move forward with major arms package for Taiwan after hearing concerns about the president from China. The package was worth between 11 to 14 billion, was authorized by Congress in December. It never been delivered. Trump said, "I think the last thing we need right now is a war that's 9,500 miles away." So let me explain why this statement is significant. The U.S. has manipulated or maintained a policy across 9 different administrations supporting China's self-defense, Taiwan's self-defense capabilities, regardless of Chinese objection. The policy was never and has never been conditional whether another war is convenient. So it looks like Trump just conditioned it publicly on Air Force One with reporters listening. The summit's most consequential outcome may be one that was not formally announced, a Taxit. Understanding that Washington would treat Taiwan as a variable in this relationship with Beijing rather than a fixed commitment. Now, the president of China made his position clear. During the first session of the Great Wall of the People, he told Trump directly, if Taiwan issue is not handled properly, the two countries will face, quote, clashes and even conflict, putting the entire relationship in great jeopardy. Now, Chinese officials described Taiwan as the most important issue in the bilateral relationship. Taiwan's foreign minister said that he remains confident in the relationship with Washington. He stressed the U.S. had repeatedly, reassured Taipei that its Taiwan policy will not change. For Taiwan, which was, it spent decades building its defense relationship with the U.S. on the assumption that American support was structured rather than conditional. That shift, if it holds, would represent a fundamental reconfiguration of the security order in the Western Pacific. President Trump is saying, "I think we will be fine." It's not clear whether he meant the U.S., the relationship with China, or Taiwan. 23 million out on the island are still waiting to find out what he meant. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do so now. Click the bell to receive anything for the notifications of new episodes. Now, let me tell you exactly what happened on Air Force One on the flight back from Beijing, because the word matters and I want you to hear it precisely. New York Times national security correspondent David Sanger, one of the most experienced and decorated national security journalists in the country, asked Trump directly whether he had achieved his, stated goals in Iran. Specifically, the reporters noted Iran still controls the Strait of Hormuz, that Iran still retains its enriched nuclear materials. That political change Trump said he wanted at the outset of the war has not happened. On the onset of the war, And Trump responded, "I had a total military victory, but the fake news guys like you write incorrectly. You're a fake guy. We had total military victory." Now, we are yet to see the citizens of America to see which victory he's referring to. He also added, "I actually think it's sort of treason what you write, you and the New York Times and the CNN. I would say you are the worst. CNN, I would say you are the worst." He used the word treason and treasonous multiple times. The critique came as Sanger pressed Trump on whether the U.S. military campaign achieved its political change in Iran, one of the president's several stated objectives on the outset of this war. David Sanger responded after leaving the plane. He appeared on CNN with Caitlin Collins and said 3 words: "Reporting is not treason." The New York Times spokesman Charlie Statlander said reporting is in treason is the foundation of a free press and the work that Americans founders wrote the First Amendment to protect. That includes making clear when claims of the government official and the reality of their actions don't line up. Now, here's what I need you to understand about the context surrounding this moment. FCC Chair Brandon Carr threatened in March to revoke broadcast licensing for networks he alleged were running hoax and, news distortions. A warning that Senator Elizabeth Warren called straight out of the authoritarian playbook. ABC News has filed a formal First Amendment complaint against the administration, and now the president of the U.S. on a government plane called a veteran national security reporter treasonous for asking whether his stated war goals were achieved. Treason is a federal crime. Under United States laws, it carries a potential death penalty, guys. So the goal of the war in Iran, according to Secretary of State Rubio's own recent statement, is now simply to return the Strait of Hormuz to the way it was before Trump started the war. The goal has been undoing the disruption of the war created, and Trump considering pointing that out treason, flabbergasted. So I'm wondering, in a country where a president can call reporters treasonous on government plane for asking factual questions, what happens to reporters who keep asking anyways? Now share this episode, follow this channel, drop a comment, tell me what you think is actually happening here. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. Until next time, I leave you in the care of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Fi amanillah.